So we now begin with a very important review that forms a part of financial markets and products, that is called derivatives. Within derivatives, we will today specifically talk about currency, commodity and stock forwards and futures. So as the name suggests, a derivative is any instrument that derives its value from an underlying. That underlying can be any asset or any instrument. So the underlying can be a book, the underlying can be a stock, it can be any asset. We will concentrate more on financial assets, however it needn't be the case. A derivative can be written and can be structured on any asset. Now the first kind of derivatives that we will focus on are called forwards. So a forward contract is an agreement between two counterparties to exchange an asset at a pre-decided price, very important, at a pre-decided date in the future. Now let's assume there are two individuals. There is individual A and there is individual B. Individual A is currently reading a book and wants to purchase this book 6 months later. So he wants to buy 6 months later. That's when he will start reading the book. Individual B will finish reading the book 6 months later. So he will finish the book, hence he will want to sell the book 6 months later. So these are our two counterparties and this is the underlying, or we are discussing a derivative written on a book or a forward contract written on a book. Let's say the current price of the book is $100. And both counterparty A, that is the buyer, and the counterparty B, that is the seller, are okay with this price. That is the current price at t equal to 0, that is right now. However, do they want to buy and sell the book today? When do they want to exchange the book? 6 months later or at t equal to 0.5? At t equal to 0.5, what is going to be the price of the book? We don't know. What is A's risk? A's risk is the price will go up because he wants to buy the book 6 months later. What is B's risk? B's risk is that the price will go down. Hence, both of them enter into a contract today. So please note, they don't exchange the book. They just enter into a contract that 6 months later A will buy the book for $100 and B will sell the book for $100, because both of them were okay with the current price, but they didn't needed the book right now. They needed it 6 months later. This guy will start reading it 6 months later. He will finish the book and that's when he will want to sell. Now please note, at t equal to 0, nothing is exchanged. No money exchanged. At t equal to 0.5, necessarily, or A has to buy and B has to sell. Please understand, a forward contract is a right as well as an obligation. So he has the right to buy and he will have to buy at $100. B has the right to sell because of this contract and he has to sell to A for $100. So forward contract is a right as well as an obligation for both counterparties. They must follow this. So that's the basic understanding of a forward contract. Please understand, it is a contract to exchange an asset in the future. Today, it is only a agreement, or it is only a contract. Now, A will said to be the buyer in the contract, or he will be called the long counterparty. B is said to be the seller in the contract. He will be called the short counterparty. Please note, strictly speaking, A is not buying it today. A will buy it 6 months later. So we will say he is entering the contract as a long, because today neither of them pays or receives anything. So he say he is entering long and B is entering the contract short. That is 6 months later, B will deliver the book and receive a price of $100. Now the application that we discussed for a forward contract is called a hedging application. So are both A and B hedging their requirement or protecting their risk? Yes, A needs to buy the book and he is protecting the risk that the price may go up. B needs to sell the book and he is also protecting the risk that the price may go down. So these applications are called hedging applications. These are the first type of participants in the market. People who have an asset whose value can go down, or who require something whose value can go up, and hence they are present in the forwards market or the stock market. A could have entered this contract just for speculation also. A thinks that the price of the book will go up. He has no business in the book. He doesn't even want to read it. But he just thinks that the price will go up so that he will be able to sell it to somebody else at a higher price 6 months later. With such a view, can A still enter this contract? Because if the price of the book goes up, then B still has to sell him for $100 at T equal to 6 months. That is the contract. So he will buy at $100 and sell it for higher price if the price goes up. So that kind of an intention is referred to as speculation. So forward contracts may not just be entered by hedgers, they can be also entered by speculators who just want to profit from the gain. Similarly, B could be a speculator. He feels the price will go down. That is, he is contracting to sell at $100, and 6 months when they come and the time to sell comes, he will be able to buy it for a lower price because the price will go down. So that kind of a view may also make you enter a forward contract. The third category of participants are referred to as arbitrageurs, and with time we will explain in more detail what arbitrage is and how arbitrageurs hope to make money. In a spot transaction, you pay $100 right now and you receive the book. So everything happens at T equal to 0. This would be called a spot transaction. A forward transaction is what we just discussed. That is, no exchange happens today. It is just a contract to exchange the book in the future. We will talk about stocks and more advanced assets. For explanation, we took the example of a book. The party long is going to be the buyer of the asset. The party short has to deliver the asset and receive the pre-decided price. Please note, price is decided at T equal to 0 only. It may be decided for a future date. That date is also decided, as well as the price is decided at T equal to 0 in a forward contract. We understood what hedgers are, speculators are, and we will see what arbitrageurs are going forward. Some terminology that is used in the curriculum and used in most books. T will be referred to as the current time, that is small t. Capital T will be the time of delivery. Tau is the time to maturity, that is capital T minus small t. Sometimes we refer to as small t also as time to maturity. You will understand from the application, not very important. S is the spot price of the asset, that is the current price of the asset. FTT will be the current forward price of the asset for delivery at T. In our example, both were the same. We said that the current price of the book is also $100, that is price at S0 for the book is equal to $100. The forward price today, the forward price is decided today, but the delivery is happening 6 months later, is also $100. So we said that they will exchange the book for a price of $100 at t equal to 6 months. So this will be called the strike price of the forward. Sometimes we write it as K, or we will write it as the forward price decided today for a delivery at a time t, that is 0.5 months or 6 months from now. VT is the value of the contract. This basically tells us that how much is either counterparty in the money or out of the money. That is, how much money are they making on the contract. Let's say we entered the contract, the same example that we discussed. Counterparty A will long the book and counterparty B is short the book at a price of $100 6 months later. Now 3 months have passed. So t equal to 0 we entered the contract, t equal to 6 the contract will mature. At t equal to 3, let's assume the price of the book becomes $120. Is it possible that 3 months later the price of the book goes up? It could have gone up, it could have gone down, it could have remained the same. Prices of assets will keep changing. It doesn't matter what kind of contract you have entered, the price of the asset will be determined by the fundamentals of the asset. If there's short supply of the book and the book is catching popularity, yes, the price of the book will go up. In such a scenario, we haven't yet reached t equal to 6. So the exchange is not yet due at $100. However, who do we think looks like he's gaining? If 3 months later the price has become $120, it looks like A is winning, or A's view is going right, because he longed the book at $100. He will likely be able to sell it now at a higher price. How much is he in the money, or how much is he gaining, is referred to as the value of the contract, that we will learn and we will see how it gets derived. R is the risk-free rate, and that is a very important component that will go into the valuation. N is the quantity or the number of units in the contract. This also we will study with an example. So let's understand how a forwards contract gets settled. So at t equal to 0, we entered the contract, which was to exchange the book for a price of $100. And let's say we have reached t equal to 6. And at t equal to 6, the actual spot price of the book has gone up to $130. At t equal to 0, this price was $100. The contract was for 6 months. So at t equal to 6 months, this contract will have to get settled. A was the buyer. So A will now pay $100 and receive the book. As far as B is concerned, he will receive $100 and deliver the book, because that was the contract. Now after A receives the book, he, if he chooses, can sell it in the market for $130 and realize a profit of $30 at t equal to 6. This kind of a settlement is called physical delivery, where A pays $100 and receives the book, B receives $100 and delivers the book. Now let's assume that both of them were speculators. They didn't have any interest in the book. They were just punting on the price of the book. A thought price will go up and hence he entered the contract. His view went right, so he's in the money. B thought price of the book will go down and that is why he was punting by entering the contract short. His view went wrong, and let's assume that both of them are settling the contract by buying from the market or selling into the market. So after this step, A sells the book in the market. So he will sell it for how much? $130 now. That is, A will have a total profit equal to $30 and B never had any book. He entered the contract to profit from the downturn. So to deliver the book, he will have to buy the book from the market. His hope was that he will be able to buy it for a cheaper price and sell it at $100 if the price went down. But now he will have to buy the book at $130 because that is the price of the book. So he will buy at 130 and deliver at 100, thereby making a loss equal to minus $30, or a loss of $30 or a profit of minus $30. So remember, derivatives, all types, are always a zero-sum game. One counterparty's profit is going to be exactly equal to another counterparty's loss. In this case, A gains $30. Who will going to give him this gain? It has to be counterparty B. There is nobody else involved in the contract. So B loses $30. In a cash settlement, what they do is, instead of going through this whole rigmarole of delivering the asset and then he's selling it himself and he buying the asset, they simply exchange $30. So A receives $30 and B pays $30. Had the stock price ended at $70 instead of $130, that is, at maturity we entered the contract at $100. At the maturity of the contract, we see that the spot price is $70. In such a case, A still will buy for $100. It is a right as well as an obligation. So A pays $100 and when he sells it in the market, he will be able to recover only $70, thereby making a loss of $30. B will sell it for $100 and he will be able to buy it from the market for $70, thereby making a profit of $30. So who will be in a profit or in a loss? To begin with, we don't know. To begin with, the value of a contract is always zero. That is, nobody is in a profit or a loss. As time passes and the value of the book changes or the value of the asset changes, one party can be in the money and another party will be out of the money. The diagram that you see below is the payoff for the long counterparty in a forward, or in the forward that we discussed. If the price of the book remains at $100, which of the counterparty gains? So there is no profit, no loss for either the long or the short. If the price ends at $120, the long party will gain to the extent of $20. He will buy for 100 and sell for 120. If the stock ends up at $80, the long counterparty will lose $20. He will buy for 100 because this is an obligation, and he will sell at 80, thereby making a loss of $20. So this is how the payoff happens at expiration of the contract. We now move on to a very important concept of valuing a forward contract. That is, in our example, the price of the book today was $100, and we said that 6 months later also both counterparties enter to exchange the book for a price of $100. Now this needn't be the case. This price is decided today. No doubt it will be based on this $100 only. So whatever price we agree on will be based on today's price. However, what exactly will be the futures price or the stock price, we will now try to derive. The principle that we apply in all derivatives valuation, rather you can argue in all valuation of any type, is called the no-arbitrage pricing. No-arbitrage pricing simply says that similar things or same assets should have the same price. Otherwise, there will be an arbitrage opportunity. Now, let's assume that potatoes per kg were selling for $100 in New York, and the same price for similar potatoes was $200 per kg in New Jersey. Then this is an example of an arbitrage opportunity. In an arbitrage situation, there is a possibility of making riskless profit. That is, you are making a profit without any investment of your own. So in a situation like this, the way to exploit the arbitrage would be to buy potatoes in New York and sell them in New Jersey. The difference is $100 per kg, so there's a huge profit that you can make. Please note, to buy these potatoes, the arbitrager doesn't bring in his own money. He will just borrow from a bank, buy the potatoes, sell them in New Jersey, recover the money, pay off the bank back, and realize his profit. So this is an arbitrage opportunity. Theory argues that this kind of a situation doesn't exist in the market perpetually. As people buy more and more from New York, the prices in New York will go up, and as they sell more and more in New Jersey, the prices in New Jersey will go down, bringing the parity or extinguishing the arbitrage that is present in this market. So we will apply a similar concept for pricing derivatives. Concept is simple: same assets should have the same price. Now let's come back to our example. We will use the terms more generally now so that we can prove a general formula. So at t equal to 0, we will say that the price of the asset is equal to S. That is the spot price at t equal to 0. We are pricing the contract for t equal to t, that is, at t equal to 0, we are entering a contract to exchange the asset at t equal to t. The forward price today, that is, the forward price is decided today for a time t in the future is what we are trying to derive. We will also call it the strike price K, or the exercise price of the forward. That is, they decided on this price today itself. However, the exchange will happen at a time t equal to t. In our previous example, this was $100, and K also we assumed would be equal to $100. Now we will actually derive that if S0 is $100, what should be the fair value of K, or what should be the fair price that these two counterparties will agree upon at t equal to 0 for an exchange at t equal to T. The risk-free rate is given to be R. Now let's first understand the buyer's perspective, or the perspective of the long counterparty. Now the individual who is long the contract, that is who will buy this asset at T equal to T, has two options. He needs the asset at this point in time, that's why he's longing it. What he can rather do is just buy the asset in the spot, that is buy it today. We know he doesn't need the asset today, but in the worst case, if there is no forward contract available to him and he really needs the asset at T equal to T, he always has the option to just buy it today and keep it with himself till T equal to T. If he buys the asset today, that is buys it in the spot market, he will have to pay a price equal to S0 and he will receive the asset. Or this is what will happen at T equal to 0. At T equal to T, that is at expiration, he still has the asset with him, but assuming he funded this price because he didn't have any money today, that's why he wanted the forward. If he funded this S0 with a borrowing from a bank, then at T equal to T, he will have to further pay S0 e to the power RT back to the bank. S0 is the principal and S0 e raised to the power RT is principal plus interest. So we assume that he got S0 from a bank such that at maturity he pays S0 e raised to the power RT and he still has the asset with him. That's what he could do if there was no forward agreement available. So buy it today and keep it with you till time T equal to T. But if there is a forward agreement or a forward contract available, that is, you can purchase the asset at T equal to T for a price equal to K, this price. In such a scenario, what will be the exchange at T equal to 0? How much will you have to pay? He's just entered the forward contract. There will be no exchange because this is an agreement for an exchange in the future. At T equal to T, in this scenario, that is when maturity of the contract comes, what will be the exchange for the buyer? He will receive the asset. It's an obligation. It's a right as well as an obligation. But he will have to pay an amount equal to K, that is what they agreed upon. So he pays K. Please note, cash outflows from our portfolio will be represented as negative. Cash inflows, we will represent them as positive. So he pays K and he receives the asset. And here he pays S0 e raised to power RT and receives the asset. So in both cases, he has received the asset. In the first case, he borrowed from the bank and funded it. In the second case, he entered the forward contract. Now, if K is greater than S0 e raised to the power RT, in the first case, effectively, how much is he paying for the asset? S0 e raised to power RT. In the second case, how much is he paying for the asset? K. The buyer will say, I am happy to enter the forward contract with you. Today's price is S0. I am happy to enter the forward contract because I need the asset. But if today's price is 100, then you cannot charge me $1,000 for the asset. If today's price is 100, we will agree on a price near about this. If the price is greater than S e raised to the power RT, will the buyer enter this contract? He'll say, no, I will just buy it today. I will take a loan from a bank and buy the asset right now. So remember, for the buyer's perspective, the price has to be less than or equal to S e raised to the power RT. This is a forward contract where the asset pays no dividends. Okay, so there is no inflows or there is no income coming from the asset. Never mind that, we'll understand in more detail. But understand, from the buyer's perspective, the strike price has to be less than or equal to k e raised to the power RT. Similarly, we will now try to understand the seller's perspective, and let's see what he will think about this contract. Take out your notebooks and try to do the seller's perspective for me. So let's now understand the seller's perspective on the forward contract. At t equal to 0, the spot price is S0. At t equal to t, the counterparties have agreed at a price F0 t, which we are also representing at k. Now the seller also has the same two options that the buyer had. He can sell the asset right now in the spot market. If he sells the asset right now, he will deliver the asset and receive a price equal to S0. That is, at t equal to t, if he invests this S0 in a bank, he would have still lost the asset and he would have with him a value equal to S0 e raised to power RT. That is, if he just sold the asset right now, there is no forward contract that he entered. If, however, he enters the forward, then what will be the exchange today? Nothing, because it is just an agreement that they will exchange the asset at t equal to t or at a time t in the future. So if he enters the forward contract, then at t equal to t, he will again deliver the asset and he will receive now a price equal to k. That's the second option, that is in the forward. In both cases, he has lost the asset. He doesn't have the asset with him. In the first case, he has with him S0 e raised to power RT because he received S0 and he put that money in a bank. In the second case, he has an amount with him equal to k. Now, from the seller's perspective, if k is anything less than S0 e raised to the power RT, will he enter the contract? He'll say, why should I enter into a forward contract with you? I'll just sell it in the spot. I'm getting more money that way. So from the seller's perspective, the strike price has to be greater than or equal to S0 e raised to power RT. From the buyer's perspective, we just proved that k has to be less than or equal to S0 e raised to power RT. Hence, the only price at which both the buyer as well as the seller will agree is a price equal to S0 e raised to the power RT. A very important formula you must remember. People mug up this formula and go, you now know the thinking and the reasoning behind the formula as well. So the fair forward price at any point in time is going to be pretty close to the spot price. So when our book was worth $100, the forward also will be pretty close to 100 because e raised to power RT will not be that big of a difference. It will be close to 100, but exactly it will be given as S0 e raised to the power RT. This is called the no arbitrage price of a forward contract. The price of the forward cannot be any different from this. If it is, then there will be an arbitrage opportunity, and we will study in today's session how to exploit that arbitrage and how to make money if you see in the market that the forward price is different from S0 e raised to the power RT. We will understand it better with more examples. However, we understand the concept for now as to how the fair forward price is derived in the future, or you can say S is F e raised to power minus RT. If I just bring S e raised to power RT, e raised to power RT on this side. We will bring in a slight complication into the matter now. So we are again trying to price a forward contract. The price today or the spot price is S0. We are valuing the contract at t equal to t. However, now it is known that the asset will pay a dividend equal to D at a time t equal to t1. So we are now valuing forward contracts with income payments. Please note, this dividend has already been announced by the company, and it is for sure that it will come at a time t equal to t1. And we are again asked to compute the fair forward price for an exchange that will happen at t equal to t, or we are asked to compute the strike price of this contract. Please note, the strike price is decided when? It is decided at t equal to 0. The exchange happens at t equal to t. Now, the method of pricing remains exactly the same. So we can do the buyer's perspective or the seller's perspective, and we will again be able to derive the formula. So I will do one perspective, you will do the other perspective on your own, and it's not very important to know these proofs, nobody will ask them, but the understanding improves greatly if you understand how the formula are derived. So let's do the seller's perspective. Seller will again think the same way. He says, if I sell it right now, then what do I receive? If I sell it in the spot, I receive S0. If I have sold the asset, however, then at t equal to t1 will I receive the dividend? Dividend will be given to whoever is owning the stock at that point in time. So if I sell it in the spot, then no dividend coming at t equal to t1, and of course I will put this money in a bank. So at t equal to t, I will have a total amount with me equal to k e raised to the power rt. So for selling the asset, you receive k e raised to the power rt. If he enters the forward contract, then what is the exchange today? So the forward contract is that I will sell the asset at a time t equal to t for a price of k. So if he enters the forward contract, what will be the exchange today at t equal to 0? Nothing, because I'm selling it at t equal to t and I will receive a price of k. But because I haven't yet delivered the asset, or I haven't sold the asset, at t equal to t1 I will be entitled to the dividend payment. So I will receive a dividend of D since I didn't sell the asset. This dividend D will I invest for the period t minus t1, because I'm calculating an equivalent price. So at maturity now, at t equal to t, what will be the exchange? I will deliver the asset because I am the seller. So I deliver the asset, I receive the strike price K, and I also receive the accumulated dividend on the stock, which will be D with the interest on it, that is e raised to the power t minus t1. So if he enters the forward contract, then the price of the asset that he is getting is k plus d e raised to the power t minus t1, because he gets k, that is what he agreed upon, and he also gets the dividend. If he enters the spot transaction, that he sells it right away, he only receives S0 e raised to the power rt, not k e raised to the power rt, because he receives S0, so it will become S0 e raised to the power rt. So k plus d e raised to the power t minus t1 is what he receives from the forward contract, where r is the risk-free rate, and S0 e raised to the power rt is what he receives from the spot transaction. Seller will enter the contract as well as what he gets, or as long as what he gets from the contract is greater than what he gets from the spot transaction. So to derive k, or we can derive k now as S0 e raised to the power rt minus d e raised to the power r T minus T1. So e raised to power RT will come common. E raised to power RT minus T1 can be written as e raised to the power RT into e raised to power minus R T1. This is the same thing as writing e raised to power RT minus T1. So e raised to power RT will come common from these terms. In the first term, what we will be left with is S0, and in the second term, what we will be left with is d e raised to power minus R T1. D into e raised to power minus R T1 is nothing but the present value of the dividend. D is the dividend coming at a time t equal to T1. So d e raised to power minus R T1 will be equal to the present value of the dividend. So please remember that the fair forward price K is given as S0 minus the present value of the dividend into e raised to power RT. The earlier formula was simply F is equal to S0 e raised to power RT. If there is a discrete dividend payment of D happening, then this formula changes as S0 minus present value of dividend into e raised to the power RT. It's the exact same methodology that we have applied in the proof. We saw how much will he get in both cases, and we say he will enter the forward contract if the value in the forward contract is greater than the value from the spot transaction. And you can just rearrange the terms and you will simply be able to derive this formula that the forward price will now be S0 minus the present value of dividend into e raised to power RT. So S minus the present value of dividend into e raised to power RT will be the new forward price, that is with a discrete dividend. Sometimes the question gives you the continuously compounded dividend. If a continuously compounded dividend payment is given, so the dividend is not paid continuously or nothing happens continuously, but we can compute an equivalent continuously compounded dividend rate as well. If a discrete dividend is given, then as we proved, replace S by S minus present value of dividend. If a continuously compounded dividend is given, then replace S by S e raised to power minus RT. Now please remember, in all formulae relating to derivatives, we studied one formula. We'll study the Black-Scholes model, option pricing, many formulae on options. Whatever you derive for a regular stock, if the stock pays a dividend of D, then replace S by S minus the present value of the dividend in all formulae. So every time you won't have to prove it. We've proved it once. For future, just remember, if the stock pays a dividend of D, then replace S by S minus the present value of the dividend. If the stock pays a continuously compounded dividend of D, then replace S by S e raised to power minus R star T, where R star is the continuous dividend yield. They both mean the same thing. It's also a present value in a way. However, this is a continuously compounded present value. This would be a discrete present value. So we proved this from the seller's perspective. You can similarly do the buyer's perspective and understand that buyer will not enter at any price greater than this, because he can also buy the stock now and receive the dividend. If he enters the forward, he will not receive the dividend. So with the dividend payout, the formula becomes S minus the present value of dividend into e raised to power RT. If the dividend is a continuously compounded rate, then it will become S e raised to power minus R star T into e raised to power RT. So replace S by S e raised to power minus R star T in all formulae, not just here, if a continuously compounded dividend yield is given. We'll understand one last concept and then we'll dive right into many questions relating to what we've studied. So we'll now understand the concept of valuing off-market forward contracts. Now an off-market contract is one that has already been entered into and now some time has passed and I want to buy this contract from someone else, or I want to sell my contract to somebody else because I don't want to hold it till maturity. So in our book example, the spot price was equal to $100 and we entered the forward. The fair forward price at time t equal to 0 would be equal to S naught e raised to the power RT, where t is the total time to maturity and t equal to 0 is the current time. Let's assume 3 months have passed. This was a 6-month contract and 3 months have passed. That is, we are at a time t equal to t1 today. And at t equal to t1, the new spot price is now S1. It is no longer S0. The price has, let's assume, gone up to a value of $130. We already entered the contract at S0 e raised to power RT. Let's assume this price was $105. And that's the value at which they entered the contract. Now 3 months have passed, or a time t equal to t1 has passed. Question is, compute the value of the contract to either counterparty. Compute the value to the long or the value to the short. Remember, value will be exactly equal and opposite. Now remember, to extinguish any derivative, since I have entered into this contract, if I want to extinguish this contract, I simply need to take an exact opposite position in a corresponding maturity contract. So at t equal to t1, let's understand the perspective of the long, that is the buyer. So at this point, is he still long this contract that will expire at t equal to t? He will be long this contract until it expires. So price can go wherever. He still has the right as well as the obligation that at t equal to t, he has to exchange the asset for a price of $105 or whatever was S0 e raised to power RT at the beginning. At t equal to t1, the price has moved to S1. That is, the price has gone to 130. He feels that his view has played out. He thought the stock will go up and the stock has already gone up by 30%. He no longer feels there is any additional upside, or he feels that now the stock will only fall, it will actually come to 120. So he wants to exit this contract and lock in this price of 130 that has already been reached. All he needs to do is to take an opposite position in a corresponding maturity contract. His current contract, that is long F0, has how much time to maturity now? T minus T1. So what he needs to do is short a forward contract with the same maturity. So he will short another contract with a maturity T minus T1. We'll call it short F1. F0 was based on the spot price at that time. F1 will be based on the spot price today. Today's pricing will not happen on what the price was 3 months back. Today's pricing will happen on whatever was the price today. So if today's price is S1, then when he shorts this contract or he sells the contract, he will receive a price equal to S1 e raised to power R T minus T1, because now there is only T minus T1 remaining to maturity. So by T I meant the time to maturity of this contract, which in our terminology will be T minus T1. So this forward will be priced according to the current spot price and the current time to maturity. Now as soon as he shorts the second forward, for all economic purposes, he has exited the first contract. Let's see how this happens. Theoretically, he still has that contract running, but because he has short another contract on the same asset, from economic perspective, he has extinguished the contract. Now, the spot price can go wherever. It can again go up and down in these remaining 3 months. It can come down to 100 also, or it can come down to 120 as our investor was scared. But at maturity, that is at T equal to T, when the first contract extinguishes, he will purchase the asset. He was long F0 and he will pay a price of F0, because that's the contract that he had already entered. So he will pay $105 and he will receive the asset. The first contract was to long the asset. The second contract was to short the asset at a price of F1. So in the second contract, he will deliver the asset and receive a price of F1. So whatever can be the price of the asset now, it doesn't matter, because he will receive it and give it forward. For receiving, he has to pay F0, and for giving it forward, he has to receive a price of F1, because both have been already locked in. So as soon as he short F1, he didn't have any leverage on the spot price movement. His payoff was fixed at T equal to T, that is at maturity, which was equal to F1 minus F0. As soon as he entered this contract at T equal to T1. So at T equal to T1, when he is long F0 already and he short F1 on the same asset, the payoff at maturity was fixed at F minus F0. That means what will be the value of the contract today, or what will be the value of the contract at T equal to T1? We are asked to calculate the value at this point. At this point, the long can short and extinguish the contract, promising him a payoff of F1 minus F0 at maturity. That means if this is the profit that I'm going to receive T minus T1 units away, then what is the value to me today? It is simply the present value of this, or F minus F0 upon e raised to the power R T minus T1. So this is the value of an off the market contract. If the spot price goes up, let's substitute F1 in this formula. F1 was nothing but S1 e raised to the power R T minus T1. So if we substitute this, F0 remains fixed upon e raised to the power R T minus T1. This will become S1 minus F0, this was the original strike price, into e raised to the power R T minus T1. T minus T1 is the remaining maturity of the contract. S1 is the current spot price. So if the spot price goes up, then the long counterparty gains. If the spot price at T equal to T1 goes down, then the long counterparty loses, because he will buy at F0. He has to pay this amount F0. Question is, if he shorts a contract today, whatever he buys, he can sell it at what price? If S1 has gone down, he loses. If S1 has gone up, he gains. This is the formula mentioned in your book. The book exactly mentions it as S1 minus K e raised to the power R tau. K is the original strike price, that is F0. Tau is the remaining time to maturity, so e raised to power R tau. This is called valuing off market forward contract. That is contract that I entered earlier, but prior to its expiration, I want to see how much in the money am I. I am so much in the money at t equal to t1. So if I was to give up my right, or if I was to give my right to somebody else, the right is that I am allowed to buy this stock for F0 because I entered it right here. Then I will charge him so much money because this is the profit that I am in. This is also the process of marking to market futures contracts. We'll study futures in some time. It's only a technical difference from forwards and some other aspects that we will see. Valuation remains exactly the same. This is called marking to market the contract, that is computing how much you are in the money. Very similar to marking the market our stock. Let's say I purchased a stock today for $100 and at t equal to t1 the stock price becomes 130. I haven't yet sold it, but there is a mark to market profit of $30. That is, I can sell it. I can sell my stock today and receive a profit of $30. Similarly, the VF is the mark to market profit in a forward contract or a futures contract. That is, we have not extinguished the contract here, but if we extinguish, it's very simple. I need to just short F1. If I extinguish, I can lock in this profit today, that is S1 minus K e raised to power minus RT. Okay, this is in the denominator. E raised to power RT minus T1 is in the denominator. So this will be F0 e raised to power minus RT minus T1. So this is valuing off the market contracts. You don't need to remember these formulae, guys. If you understand the concept, then you can see the question and solve it from plain logic also, as we will see in the coming slides. This is the value of an off market contract. If the contract or if the asset paid dividends, then what will be the formula? This was the value of an off market contract for an asset that paid no dividends. If the asset paid dividends, then simply replace S by S e raised to power minus R star T, where R star is the continuous dividend yield. Or if it was a discrete, then just replace S by S minus the present value of the dividend in the formula. So in all formula, replace S by S e raised to power minus R star T if the question pays a continuous dividend yield. The current value of an outstanding forward contract can be found by entering an offsetting forward position and discounting the net cash flow at expiration. Net cash flow was F1 minus F0. This is what we sell it at, this is what we buy it at, and then we discount it back to receive the value or to derive the formula. Now let's do a few questions and ensure that we understand the concepts. Consider a 6-month forward contract on a 0 coupon bond with a face value of $1,000 that is currently quote at $800, and assume that a risk-free annual rate of interest is 8%. Determine the price of the forward contract under the no-arbitrage principle. So the spot price is given and we are asked to derive the forward price. It's a 0 coupon bond, so there are no income payments in the middle. If the spot price is 800, then the fair forward price at a time t equal to t, that is at expiration, will be given as S0 e raised to the power RT S0 is 800 into e raised to power 0.08 into, please note, rate will always be annual, always, unless otherwise specified. A rate is mentioned, it is an annualized rate. So time period will also have to be in years. So it's a 6-month contract, so 6 months is 0.5 years. Please take out your calculators and see how this calculation is done. So we need to compute e raised to power 0.08 into 0.5 into 800. So we will first press 0.08 multiplied by 0.5. Store it in the memory register 1 in case you need it in the future. And then I want to raise this to the power of e. So press the button second and press ln. Above ln you see e to the power x. So by pressing second, that's what you're accessing. So when you press ln, you'll do e to the power 0.04, that comes out to be 10 or 1.04081. Store this in the memory register 2 in case you need it in the future. Multiply it with 800 and that will be the answer. That comes out to be about 832.6. So that will be the fair forwards price at t equal to 0.